You have been told, "For I know the plans I have for you," but do you believe it? Do you truly accept that the path set before you is greater than anything you could conceive? Or do you allow doubt to whisper that you are forgotten, that your desires are too big, that your dreams are out of reach? The greatest mistake is to assume that what you see now is all that is possible. But your vision is limited. You look at your life and see only what is before you. You measure your future by the limitations of the past, forgetting that the plan for your life is beyond your current perception. You assume that because you cannot yet see it, it does not exist. But the truth is far greater. What is prepared for you is beyond your imagination, waiting for you to accept it, to step into it, to claim it as already yours. The greatest mistake is to believe only in what your senses confirm. You look at your circumstances and assume they define you, that they dictate what is possible. But what you see is only a reflection of past assumptions. The moment you recognize this, you understand that what is ahead is not limited by what has been. You were never meant to live by sight but by faith. For faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Think for a moment about the vastness of the ocean. If you were standing on the shore and had never seen the depths, you might assume the small waves before you are all that exist. But beyond what your eyes can perceive is an expanse beyond measure, teeming with life, stretching further than you can fathom. Just because you cannot see the depths does not mean they are not there. In the same way, just because you cannot yet perceive the fullness of your purpose does not mean it is not unfolding. Every great movement, every divine unfolding begins in the unseen. It is conceived in the invisible before it takes shape in the physical. But most refuse to believe until they see. They wait for proof, for tangible evidence, before they accept what has already been established. And so they delay, they hesitate, they shrink back into familiar patterns, unaware that the moment they step forward in confidence, the way will be made clear. You have been told that the plan for your life is greater than you can imagine. Yet, do you truly believe it? Or do you look at your present struggles and doubt? Do you measure divine intention by human limitation? There is no force outside of you holding back your destiny, only your own unwillingness to accept it. The moment you step into the assumption that what is meant for you is already yours, reality must conform. The doors will open, the way will be made straight, and the very things you once thought impossible will manifest. You were never meant to struggle in uncertainty. You were never meant to live in fear, wondering if you will be provided for, if you will reach your highest potential. The way has already been set. But the question remains, will you walk in it? Will you trust in what is unseen, or will you allow your doubts to keep you confined? Think of a seed planted in the soil. You do not dig it up each day to check if it is growing. You trust that beneath the surface something is happening, and in due time what was once hidden will break through, revealing what was always there. But what if the seed had the ability to think? What if it questioned the darkness, assuming it was buried rather than planted? It might resist, it might doubt, it might fail to break through, simply because it did not trust the process. So it is with you. You stand at the threshold of something greater, yet you hesitate. You question whether the path is real, whether the promise is true, whether the vision is possible. But the only thing delaying your progress is your own unwillingness to believe it now. The moment you accept that the plan for your life is already unfolding, that it is not something you must struggle to attain, but something you must align with, everything changes. You no longer strive you assume. You no longer hope, you know. And in that knowing, in that deep, unshakable certainty, the world around you begins to shift. Opportunities arise where there were none. People appear at the right time. The things you once chased begin to flow effortlessly into your experience, not because you forced them, but because you finally accepted that they were already yours. The greatness that has been set before you is not a distant possibility. It is not something you will achieve one day. It is here, now, waiting for you to claim it. The only question is, you are not created to live in fear or limitation, yet so many spend their days trapped by what they perceive to be true. They look at their circumstances and assume that they are bound by them, that the walls around them are unmovable. They assume that because they are in a small, dark room, there is no way out. But this is the greatest lie. There are no walls. There are no barriers. There is only the belief that there are. The moment you understand this, your entire reality will begin to shift. Imagine that you are standing in a room with walls high and strong around you. You can feel their solidity, their unyielding presence. But what if I told you that these walls are not real, that they exist only because you believe them to be real? The moment you stop looking at the walls, the moment you stop accepting the limitations you think are there, those walls will no longer have any power over you. The truth is, you are not bound by anything except your own perception of what is. When you live by the belief that your circumstances define you, that your past mistakes or your current struggles dictate your future, you create your own prison. But the truth is, there is always a way out. You are not bound by what has been. You are free to create what you choose to believe. The moment you step into the knowing that you are already free, you break down the walls. You open the door that you once thought was locked. Your beliefs are the key. They shape your reality. If you believe that you are stuck, that your dreams are out of reach, then that is exactly what you will experience. But if you choose to believe that what you desire is already yours, that the way is already paved, then you will begin to see evidence of it everywhere. The key is not to wait for something external to change. The key is to change the way you see yourself. The moment you step into the belief that you are worthy of everything you desire, everything shifts. You no longer wait for things to happen. You simply assume that they already have. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. How many times have you found yourself waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect set of circumstances? How many times have you convinced yourself that you cannot move forward until everything is aligned perfectly? But the truth is, everything is already aligned. It is not the circumstances that need to change. It is your perception of them. The moment you align with the truth that everything is already working in your favor, that everything you desire is already yours, the very nature of your reality begins to bend and shift to meet that assumption. Now, ask yourself this. What if the plans God has for you are already in motion? What if everything that you have prayed for, every desire of your heart, is already set in place, waiting for you to simply accept it? Would you continue to wait for a sign? Or would you step boldly into the reality that has already been prepared for you? The moment you accept that it is done, that the promise has already been fulfilled, you enter into the flow of abundance and divine favor. It is time to stop doubting. It is time to stop waiting for something outside of you to change. You are not waiting for a sign. The sign is already here. The path is already laid before you. And the only thing standing between you and the life you desire is the belief that it is already yours. The moment you step into that knowing, everything around you will begin to change. The doors you thought were closed will open. The opportunities you thought were out of reach will come to you effortlessly, and all because you stopped waiting for something external to change and began to align with the truth that everything you desire is already yours. In this moment, I invite you to step into the knowing that everything you have been waiting for is already in motion, that the life you desire is not a distant dream, but a reality that is already unfolding. Your future is not uncertain. Your future is already set, and all that is left for you to do is to claim it, to assume that it is already yours. Step into the reality that you are worthy of everything you desire, and watch as the world around you bends to your will. There is nothing standing between you and your dreams except your belief that it is not already yours. The moment you change that belief, the universe will respond in kind. What you call a setback is nothing more than a shift in direction, a movement towards something far greater than what you originally envisioned. You look at your life and assume that because things have not gone as planned, you have failed, that you have lost time, that you have somehow missed your opportunity. But that is not true. Nothing has been lost. Every delay, every disappointment, every so-called failure is simply the unfolding of a path you could not yet see. You are not being denied. You are being redirected. Think back to a time when you wanted something desperately, something you believed was necessary for your happiness. Perhaps it was a job, a relationship, an opportunity that seemed perfect, and yet it did not happen. You struggled, you questioned, you asked why. But now, looking back, can you see how what you thought was a loss was actually a blessing? Can you see how what you thought was the right path would have led you somewhere far less than what was meant for you? This is always the case. What you call rejection is often protection. What you call failure is often preparation. You must understand that nothing is ever truly lost. It is simply transformed. But so few believe this. They look at their circumstances and assume that because they do not yet see the outcome they desire, it must not exist. They fall into despair, believing that they have been abandoned, that their prayers have gone unanswered. But what if they knew that everything was still working in their favor? What if they understood that the very thing they thought was a loss was in fact a setup for something greater? Would they not walk forward with confidence? Would they not expect something even better to come? It is not for you to decide how the path unfolds. It is only for you to trust that it is unfolding exactly as it should. You do not control the sequence of events, but you do control your assumption about them. If you assume that a setback is the end, you will experience it as the end. But if you assume that every challenge is merely a doorway to something greater, then that is exactly what it will be. The world mirrors your beliefs. If you believe you have lost, then you will experience loss. But if you believe that you are always being led towards something greater, then that is what will come to pass. The greatest mistake you can make is to cling too tightly to what is leaving your life. You must let go. You must release the old in order to make room for the new. A farmer does not mourn the passing of one season, for he knows that another is coming. He does not cling to the dying leaves of autumn, for he knows that spring will bring new life. You must do the same. You must trust that what is leaving is making space for something even greater than you can imagine. And yet so many refuse to believe this. They resist. They hold on tightly to what is no longer meant for them, fearful that nothing better will come. But this fear is an illusion. What is truly meant for you cannot pass you by. The only thing that delays it is your refusal to believe that it is already yours. The moment you let go of fear, the moment you surrender your doubts, the doors will open. What you thought was gone forever will return to you in a greater form. What you thought was lost will reveal itself as a blessing. The only requirement is that you trust the process. The most powerful thing you can do is assume that all things are working in your favor. Even the moments that seem painful, even the circumstances that seem unfair, all of it is leading you somewhere greater. The delay is not a denial. The detour is not a mistake. It is only your limited perception that makes it seem so. But if you could see from a higher perspective, if you could see the full picture, you would understand that every moment is perfectly aligned, that every step is moving you closer to what is already yours. Do not ask when or how. Do not demand to see the full path before you take the first step. Simply assume that what is meant for you is unfolding now. Assume that every experience, no matter how small, is leading you to exactly where you need to be. The moment you stop resisting, the moment you stop doubting, the moment you step into the absolute knowing that nothing is ever truly lost, the doors will open. The opportunities will appear. The things you once chased will come to you effortlessly. You do not need to struggle. You do not need to force. You only need to align with the truth that everything is already working in your favor. Walk in this assumption. Live as though it is already done. For the moment you do, your world will begin to shift. What was once hidden will be revealed. What was once impossible will become inevitable. And all of it was already written for you, waiting for the moment you would believe. You stand at the edge of something greater than you can comprehend. The plans for your life are not small, they are not ordinary, they are not limited by what you see. And yet, how often do you shrink yourself to fit within the boundaries of your current circumstances? How often do you tell yourself that you must settle for what is in front of you rather than what is truly meant for you? You were not created to live a life of restriction. You were not created to simply survive. You were created for greatness. And yet, you must first come to accept this truth before you can see it manifest. The greatest limitation is not in the world around you, but in the thoughts you entertain. You assume that what you see now is all that exists, but this is only a fraction of what is unfolding for you. Just as the seed does not yet see the tree within it, just as the caterpillar cannot yet perceive the wings that will carry it, you too are standing in the midst of a transformation you cannot yet fully understand. What you assume to be an ordinary existence is in truth the beginning of something extraordinary. But to step into this reality, you must first accept that there is more. If you continue to live as though you are waiting for something external to change before you can believe in what is possible, you will remain in the same place. But if you assume that what is meant for you is already unfolding, if you begin to see yourself not as limited but as destined, everything will shift. The key is not to hope for something greater, but to walk as though it is already yours. To align your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions with the truth that the plans for your life are far greater than you have imagined. What if you stopped asking for proof and instead lived as though you already knew? What if you stopped waiting for a sign and simply stepped forward, fully convinced that the doors were already opening? You do not need to see every step ahead of you. You do not need to understand every detail of how it will unfold. You only need to assume the end is already secured. If you hold this belief unwaveringly, the path will reveal itself. But so many resist this truth. They look at their current reality and assume that it is evidence of what is possible. They measure their future by what they have experienced in the past. But the past holds no power over what is to come. The past is simply a collection of moments that you assigned meaning to. It does not dictate your future unless you choose to let it. If you believe that you are bound by what has been, then you will continue to repeat the same pattern. But if you decide in this moment that your future is far greater than your past, everything will begin to shift. You must understand that the plans set before you are not small. You must understand that there is no limit to what can unfold when you align with this truth. What you assume to be impossible is only impossible because you have declared it to be so. The moment you change your assumption, the world around you will change. The moment you expect something greater, the doors will open. But this is not about waiting. It is not about hoping. It is about stepping into the reality that is already prepared for you. Live as though you have already received it. Speak as though it is already done. Move as though the path is already made clear, because the truth is, it is. The only thing that delays the manifestation of what is meant for you is your own reluctance to believe that it is already yours. This is the mistake so many make. They believe that their desires are distant, that they must strive, that they must prove themselves worthy. But you were already chosen. You were already set apart. The path was already created for you before you even took your first breath. There is nothing you must do to earn what is already yours. Only align yourself with the truth that it was never in question. And once you do, you will begin to see what has been waiting for you all along. The right people will come into your life. The opportunities that seemed impossible will appear effortlessly. The doors that were once closed will open, not because something external changed, but because you changed. You began to see yourself as you truly are. You stopped living in limitation and stepped fully into the knowing that your future is already written. Nothing is random. Nothing is by chance. Every moment, every challenge, every delay has been leading you to something far greater than you could have ever imagined. The only thing required of you is to accept this truth, to align yourself with it, to live as though it is already unfolding, because it is. And when you do, you will no longer wonder what is possible. You will no longer question whether you are on the right path. You will know beyond any doubt that the plans for your life are far greater than you ever imagined. And they were always meant for you.